You know, I bring out this guy very rarely. It's usually on its happy side. Hold on, putting it on its happy side. But, oh my. This is the look that is reserved for Gwen's intelligence. And this is what this cat should look like. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and to the read-along of the Cyborg Tinkerer by Meg LaTorre. I'm Kat and we'll get into chapter 32 and 33 today. Now that Rora and Gwen have made up, or have come to an agreement of sorts at least, they set out to spy on Bastion some more to figure out what exactly is wrong with him and why he's hanging out with the mistress again. So they go back into the ballroom after Gwen had her little cry, and it turns out they just left. So Rora and Gwen stalk them through the palace, or speed hobble in case of Gwen. Then try to make their way past some guards. Apparently the doors to the outside are locked and well guarded, but because they think they can't just walk out, they have to act again, and we know how great Gwen is at that. So they walk up to these guards, flirting. It's like, oh, I want to show my darling the city or whatever. Yeah, it's good enough, but they have to kiss in front of the guards to make it convincing. And even in this situation, Gwen is just getting incredibly horny for Rora again. And it's because she doesn't have her priorities right ever. Like, life's at stake, you think the man you love is being brainwashed, but oh no, there are boobs in the vicinity. Gwen is distracted. And I think from the way the guard reacts and just lets them out after, you could have just said, we want to take a stroll through the town. He would be just like, yeah, here, just be back before dark because it gets dangerous for cyborgs out there. I don't think he really cared. But anyway, they make it out. They make their way to the stables where all of the cyborg beasts are being kept. Rora came prepared, okay? She had a grapple hook and some rope under her dress somewhere. She got ready together with Gwen, so I'm not sure how Gwen missed her putting those tools under her skirts, but whatever. Rora is prepared. Which also means that Gwen has to go and distract the stable boy who's guarding the cyborg animals, on the outside at least. So Gwen sets out to try and fool this teenage boy, 14 or whatever. She uses her cyborg eye again to identify oils under the table and grease stains on the boy's trousers, because we really needed to know that this 14-year-old boy or whatever is ranking at work. That was essential knowledge. It does come with a very nice line though. Thank the stars I'm not a teenager anymore. Because you have so much control over your libido, Gwen, because we have seen none of that. You are acting like the most hormonal, horny teenager as well, so the judgment is really misplaced here. And once again, why does everything have to link back to sex somehow? Like, we didn't need to know this about this kid. You could have just talked to him or distracted him in some other way. And yeah, no, everything has to do with sex somehow, somewhere. Whether it makes sense, whether it does anything for the scene, doesn't matter, it has to be in there. Gwen uses her knowledge to play the kid to a degree and make him think that she can actually see inside his mind and see all of his desires. And well, Rora makes too much noise though, so she really is not the master of stealth. You hear like clanking as if she didn't hit the right spot with her grappling hook on the first attempt. Yeah, Gwen manages to distract the boy for long enough though. So eventually there's some crashing and he actually goes around the stable to look what the heck is happening. But Rora has made her way around the stable the other way. it seems, and is collecting Gwen. It's like, so what did you see in there? And Roar's like, no, you should really see this yourself. No, just tell me. It's like, no, you need to see this yourself. So Gwen climbs onto some crates. Apparently the stable boy is not doing a whole round of the stables because he never turns back up. But Gwen manages to climb with her broken leg onto those crates to stare in through some window. And they watch as Celeste is doing something to Bastion's chip. I'm not sure why Gwen needed to be there herself to see this. You could have just told her that because we already knew it was coming anyway. But, you know, I guess Gwen has to be there so she can listen to Celeste monologuing her master plan. Because we really needed this Disney villain who just tells you all of their plans. Celeste is in this room with like 50 or something of her watchmen and Bastion, who is clearly out of it. And just tells you of her plan to assassinate the Emperor and to use Bastion for it. While she's fiddling with the coding of Bastion's chip, she does tell him that she didn't seek out any of her performers except him. She sent Carlyle to collect Bastion because of his combat experience. So I'm rather confused now. Was there literally nobody else who looked unforgettable enough that you could use him as an assassin and who had any combat experience whatsoever? Also, if you did this because of Bastion's family's reputation, then they're not very good at smuggling if they have a reputation for it, are they? But apparently there was nobody else in like the whole star system that Celeste could have possibly used for this. No, she had to send Carlyle out to find Bastion. Of course. And this will become important in the next chapter, I think. Sure, Abercon knows his way around a bow, but a gun is far more subtle and far harder to detect. Besides, the man is as wide as a mountain. The minute he walks into the room, everyone will be watching him, wondering just what violence he's capable of. No one will be looking at the thin, dark ringleader. So we know that Bastion will be equipped with a gun. Remember this for next chapter. Gwen climbs down her crates and is in full killing mode. She wants to go and hurt Celeste, and Roar has to hold her back. It's like, yeah, Gwen really has no self-control whatsoever. We've established there are 50 watchmen in this room, right? And Gwen is in no state to even take on Celeste by herself, I don't think. But yet she was just ready to kick down the door and die, I suppose. I mean, intention is to kill Celeste, but she would just die 2 steps into the stables, so... Gwen and Roar make more plans. They have to get Bastion's second chip, or his chip in general, back from the mistress. And maybe they will manage that during the performance tomorrow. You know, the performance that I didn't think was ever going to happen anyway, but we'll see in a bit. Gwen asks very important questions. Why is the mistress not committing this assassination herself? Because she doesn't want to get convicted of murder? If you have such a perfect scapegoat at your hands, why wouldn't you? Gwen, this is such a stupid question. And I read this next line as complete shade. Roar is dead serious, but time to make one of your master plans. It is, yeah. God. And Gwen proves once again that she has not paid attention to anything, you know, beyond her hormones, obviously, but Celeste didn't know it yet, but she was about to spark civil unrest. And with the cyborgs at the center, she was about to make them into the very monsters people believed them to be. Monsters that everyone wanted dead. Oh, Celeste knows. Celeste knows what she's doing. So far, she is the only intelligent person we've seen around here who actually, you know, has plans that work out, to a degree at least. Chapter 33 starts out with some more poetry. Heart heavier than a large woman's tits, Gwen limped back into the Emperor's palace. Right. Okay. You know, in case you ever have a heavy heart or you feel dread about anything, know that your heart is heavier than a large woman's tits. Rora and Gwen make their way back to the palace, and Gwen asks Rora to help her get out of this dress because, you know, it's so difficult to undress yourself in the first place because, you know, this has to be like a couple of centuries back fashion where women are not allowed to dress themselves. And her broken leg also hinders Gwen a bit, so Rora helps her and there's more sexual tension because, you know, despite accusing this random teenager earlier of being hormonal and having no self-control, Gwen has no self-control either, so Gwen manages to resist though. But only because she thinks of Bastian, not because of the circumstances or anything. No, it's Bastian. Rora does ask her to stay the night, just to keep her company, not for anything sexual for a change, because Rora doesn't want to be alone either. And Gwen concedes it makes sense not to be in her own room and hide in Rora's room, because who would expect a cyborg in a cyborg's room, haha, but yeah. Gwen stays the night and Rora sleeps on the couch. Rora and Gwen leave Rora's room and check on some of the other rooms, but none of the cyborgs is in there. Which then leads me to question, why did you guys go and sleep for the night to begin with? You knew things were gonna go south at the very least the next morning, possibly sooner than that, because, you know, you had the option to go and warn a couple of people to let other people in on what was going to happen the next day, but no, they just went to bed. They make their way back to the ballroom, which is locked from the inside, so they have to creep through the garden to look in through the terrace door. And sure enough, all of the cyborgs are bound and gagged and just lined up along the wall. Because guess what? There was never going to be a performance. Once again, why was there this stupid, elaborate competition beforehand then? You could have just asked the whole circus to this town, then just put the military to it if you wanted all of them dead, but whatever. Logic does not touch these people. While the Emperor is questioning the performers, he wants to know where the mistress is, and then he wants to know where the Cyborg Tinkerer is. For some reason he lets it slide after one question about Celeste, but then when it gets to Gwen, he's like, no, you have a Cyborg Tinkerer, where is she? And it's like, suddenly this is way more interesting than the mistress. I'm not quite sure why, but whatever. Gwen tells Rora to hide and then knocks on the door, hoping to prevent some bloodshed in there. And I would argue that even if you have those cyborgs bound in this room, why would you shoot them there? It's in your own palace. That seems like the wrong place to do that. Gwen tries to be snarky. The Emperor asks her what her name is, and she goes, offended, Gwen bowed. At your service. Yes, thank you, Gwen. This is the precise moment where you have to make quips and be snarky in any way. Out of the corner of her eye, Gwen sees that Bastian is busy with a knife trying to free himself. And because she made the quip, the Empress on the verge of turning around to see what's happening behind him, and then she just blurts out her actual name. And she instantly gets worried, oh my god, he knows my family. This will have dire consequences for me. And I'm just wondering, would he really remember the daughter of a family that he thought he'd ruined like 10 years ago? I don't know. But apparently he does know her name. It's not in relation to her family. She knows her name because she's a famous ship tinkerer. And I have to wonder, how small is the star system? How few people are there, and how well informed are all of these people that the Emperor himself knows of this ship tinkerer? The Emperor threatens Gwen with like, oh, you've been turned into a cyborg after the law came into effect. As if the law mattered in the past few weeks with all the murder that has been going around, but oh, it's against the law, you could end up in jail for life or be executed, depends on the judge. unless you have the Emperor's protection. But in that moment, Bastian manages to free himself because despite a whole line of guards, nobody paid any attention to anybody. And he pulls up his cane, and Gwen only just now realizes, oh my god, he's not going to use knives, he has a gun concealed in that. Were you not listening to Celeste doing her villain monologue last chapter? She literally told you that she's not using Abercrombie because he's mostly using bows and guns are so much better. But no, Gwen did not pay attention to that. But she has decided that she would do everything she can to save the man she loves, right? So she yells, Titus, duck. Why would you address the Emperor with the first name? I would expect just duck in this instance. But it's not like she knows this guy, so yet she goes for first name and the warning is like strange, but okay. And then she pulls out knives and throws them at Bastian. And I'm a bit baffled. Why does she think that even if she prevents Bastian from assassinating anyone, why would this prevent him ending up in jail? You get jailed for attempted assassinations of emperors as well. They're also concerned with like the law says this and that and this is what I can do to you within the constraints of the laws. Like nobody in this has given any shit about any law so far and suddenly it matters? So strange. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back next week with another video. Like and subscribe if you want to help the channel out. And let me know whether we can expect more master plans on Gwen's part. Can they get any worse? I'm not convinced they can. Unless she somehow manages to make the palace implode or something. Bye guys!